We get another really good episode this week, with this one showing how Akebi has come full circle from where she was at the beginning of the show. Akebi shows up late to the beginning of class, and we find out that it's because she's been practicing for a dance performance that she will be doing for the after party as part of the drama club. This felt like a natural progression for the show, and we get confirmation of what I've been suspecting from the beginning. It is a little different from what I expected, because I was thinking that it'd be something along the lines of an actual play. However, it makes sense considering Akebi and the president are the only ones in the club. It seems like the president has taken on all of the management tasks for herself, and so they need something that can be performed by a single person. A dance routine would be a perfect fit. We get a few scenes with Erika, and then we cut to her and Hebimori having lunch together, and Hebimori just straight up asks her, "Hey, you can play the piano, right?" She basically voices all of Erika's thoughts about how she wants to play the piano for Akebi's routine. The reaction from Erika here was great, and kudos to the voice actress for doing such a great job. I just had to laugh here because Erika clearly thought she had pulled the wool over everyone's eyes and didn't realize that probably most, if not all of the class know that she can play the piano. This does really get me intrigued into the details of Erika's past, however. Throughout a large portion of this show, they've showcased that Erika clearly loves playing the piano, so much so that she can't stop herself from regularly playing one in the club room. However, pretty much every time we see her looking or interacting with a piano, she has a bittersweet look on her face. It feels like there is definitely some history there, and I'd love if we could get some information on that. It's very possible we could get some insight for that next week. Based on the tone for this show, I don't expect anything too heavy there, but it feels like they've been building things up for a moment like this between Erika and Akebi. It seems very fitting that the very first person Akebi met when she arrived and the first friends she made would be the one to accompany her in what will effectively be the end of the show. In the end, Hebimori successfully convinces Erika to give it a shot and play the piano during Akebi's dance routine. The main focus of today's episode, however, has to do with the girls getting ready for the athletics festival. Mainly, them practicing for the portion where they will play volleyball. They will need to play well and score high, since the team portion is where most of the points are awarded for the festival. When they first show the girls, they are all very inexperienced and have obviously never tried to play together. The team is not coordinated at all, and it's obvious that they would not do very well under those circumstances. Akebi seems to be worrying about how she can practice by herself, while Hebimori mentions that it would be great if they had a place that everyone could practice together. Akebi seems to think of something, and it's here where we get a great scene with Akebi and her old school teacher. She calls up her old teacher with the intention to ask her if her and her friends can make a trip to her old school and use the gym there. Of course, the teacher readily agrees, but in addition to that, she adds in a really emotional moment. She talks about how Akebi was always talking about wanting friends, but we also learn that Akebi was literally the only person in her class. We do get some context on that a little bit later in the episode when Akebi runs into the bathroom with Hebimori and explains that the school will be closing down after her little sister graduates. I think it makes sense because not only does the school look old and run down, but it's also out in the middle of nowhere, so it seems like there are probably not enough kids in the area, and if there are, they probably opted to go to better schools. I think the emotional moment for the teacher comes from the fact that they have to be very close, as she was essentially Akebi's personal tutor for 6 whole years. I can't imagine how she must have felt sometimes when Akebi talked about friends all the time, knowing full well that there was not anyone her age that could play with her or associate with her. I will say that I felt the scene got a little over the top with them crying and getting all emotional, so I ended up laughing just a bit at it, but it was still a very heartwarming and cute scene, especially when Akebi started crying after hanging up the call. We learn that the 2 girls from the volleyball club are not going to be able to make it, but everyone else agrees to meet up, except for Erika, who is of course practicing playing the piano for Akebi. When we cut to the day of the practice, we are shown that Akebi has brought along her little sister. I really appreciate the scene because it shows more of how genuine Akebi is. It's pretty common for younger siblings to want to tag along with their older brother or sister, and I think it's pretty common for the older sibling to want to shun them or not deal with them. Akebi letting her sister join the group really shows how much she cares about her and how she, as a person, genuinely doesn't mind having her tag along. I also think Akebi herself remembers how she felt when she was all alone at school and wants to mitigate that feeling as much as possible for her sister, so it will become a good memory for her. As a surprise to everyone, the girls from the volleyball club were able to get special permission to skip their club practice and join the rest of the girls for their practice, even going so far as to get an official form filled out. As we get into the second part of the episode, this is where I really felt the connection about how the show is coming full circle. The overarching theme for this part of the show is a montage of them getting better as a team at volleyball, Akebi herself showing her unending energy and determination. I will say, from where they started to where they are now, the girls have obviously gotten much better. As Akebi goes to the restroom with Hebimori, she talks about how the school will close after her sister graduates, but she's happy that her last memories of her old school will now include her new friends. When they get back to the gym, Akebi sees her teacher there, but quickly notices that the rest of her classmates have showed up as well. Hebimori put out a call to everyone in the class when she learned that they may be down some members for the practice session. I really felt that the teacher wasn't just happy to have Akebi and her friends there, but also just happy about the gym, which was being used properly by kids again after such a long time. If Akebi and her sister will be the last students, it's obvious that they probably haven't had students there in over a decade. I like that moment because you get to see that just before you see Akebi looking at all of her classmates who have joined her practice, and she's reflecting back to how she has those friends that she so desired before. We also get another beautiful scene where Erika is playing the piano and it's showing Akebi dancing as Erika imagines she would be. This is another great animation sequence, and I really liked how they played with the color on Akebi's ribbon to get it to trail behind her. We end the episode with Akebi standing outside the gate on the day of the athletics festival. We see as she takes a moment and takes that first step through the gate. I believe this could also be a metaphor, as we spent most of the episode reminiscing about the past. But this step is also the first step from Akebi towards her new future and continued memories with her friends. Overall, this was a great setup for the finale next week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe if you like what you see, and have a fantastic day.